We're going to be discussing colonial groupings in the three regions of New England, the Middle Colonies, and the Southern Colonies. And you can see them here on my map. As more people come to the New World, larger colonies started to form. These colonies could be separated into three distinct regions. And as I said, those regions are New England, the Middle Colonies, and the Southern Colonies. Now, the reasons for establishing those colonies are actually very similar, but the details of those reasons are very different. Those reasons are religious, economic, political, and social, and we'll be discussing the reps of each of those three colonial groups. We'll begin with the New England colonies. And as we discuss the reps of New England, we begin with the religious factors. Religion was a very important aspect to New England life. In fact, all of the activities and daily things that they would do centered around religion. The Puritans was a large group that kind of dominated the religious landscape. And the Puritans were in Massachusetts, and what happened was they grew angry with the Church of England, and that's why they came to the New World. They were looking for religious freedom. And the Puritans, they wanted to purify the Church of England. So that's how they get their name, Puritans, to purify the Church of England. And they believed that the Bible was God's true law. And those laws of God influenced their political landscape for sure. Moving on to the economic part of the rep, we have to talk about the mass number of raw materials in New England. Logging and fishing were very important to New England's economy. Manufacturing, such as shipbuilding, was also important. Now, discussing the political ideas, town meetings were really how business was taken care of in New England. A representative government was soon established where a few people would represent the whole. However, the king would not allow this type of government because in a representative government, the king loses power. And as far as the social landscape looks in New England, there were a lot of small towns, except really Boston. Boston was a very large town, several 100,000 people, I believe. And because of this, access to water led to a higher population density. Remember their economics. It was all about fishing and shipbuilding. And so because of the access to water and all of those jobs around the water, that's why people lived there. And when a large number of people live in a small area, the population density is high. And we've discussed previously that the soil in New England is poor. Well, yes, but you still can grow things. And a lot of the social farming was called subsistence farming. And what I mean is that's where you only grow enough food for your family. You don't have anything left to sell or trade. And that's the thing that's different between New England and the others is, yes, the soil is poor, but you could still grow some things. You just didn't have any left over to sell or trade. Let's look at the reps for the Middle Colonies. In the Middle Colonies, the Quakers were the dominant religious group, and they were established by William Penn in Pennsylvania. Now, the Quakers' whole point of establishing this colony was for religious equality. They were trying to get a lot of religious groups to come together and live as a cohesive unit and have no problems between each other practicing a different religion. And there was just a small group of Catholics in Maryland. The economics for the Middle Colonies had large farms. The Middle Colonies' nickname is the breadbasket, and they would grow large quantities of wheat in their farms. They also had logging and fishing and shipbuilding, and they also had cattle production. And so as you can see, sorry for the bell, as you can see, the economy in New England was mostly logging, fishing, shipbuilding, because their soil was not very good. As you move further south, the soil gets better, and in New England, the soil was better. Sorry, in the middle colonies, the soil was better. It was able to have cattle and have large farms. As far as the political ideas in the middle colonies, they were more tolerant of others, and that's basically because the Quakers dominated the society. And there was an expectation of acceptance there. As far as the social, there were small coastal towns. Philadelphia, New York, and Baltimore were the biggest cities. Access to waterways also resulted in high population density here in the middle colonies. Let's move on to the southern colony reps. In the southern colonies, you can see here that religion was not important. The Church of England had some influence there, but it wasn't a dominating idea. And the Catholics did settle Maryland, and there ended up being quite a lot of people in Maryland that practiced Catholicism. But in the southern colonies, religion is not important. In New England colonies, that's what your whole life is about. It's about religion. As far as the southern colonies, because religion is not important, they're there to make money on plantations. And all that is a large amount of fertile soil that led to an agricultural economy in the southern colonies. And they had several cash crops. Tobacco, indigo, and cotton became very high cash crops. Able to make millions of dollars actually on those cash crops. The political landscape looked like this. In the southern colonies, they enslaved people from Africa. They were a more class-based society. They had the high class, the middle class, and the low class, and then the slaves below that. And so that's really what dominated the society is you were in this class, you were born in this class, and there was no movement between those classes. It was what it is. Okay? And in the social aspects of the southern colonies, there were also small coastal towns like the middle colonies. Charleston and Savannah were the biggest. But in the southern colonies, there was a low population density. Remember, a large amount of people in a small area is high population density. A small amount of people in a big area is low population density. Now let's just look at some economic differences. Let's kind of focus in on that. In New England, we have some causes and effects. I should have told you that. The economic differences, causes and effects. In New England, we have long winters, rocky soil, and forests. And so because of that, we have subsistence farming, shipbuilding, and fishing. In the middle colonies, we have shorter winters, fertile soil, good ports, and natural resources. And so because of that, we have in the middle colonies farming, trade, and a large immigrant population because there's a variety of jobs to be had there. And in the southern colonies, we have a warm climate and great soil, which leads to a plantation system and a large slavery system.